That was the name that Sue Kaiser gave me, but and she asked her to send me the information, but I never received an email from her. So I guess I will put it on my to-do list here to.
Jeannie Dunn.
Yeah, I've got her contact
Oh,
information.
one, I think.
Sue gave her.
Oh, yes. Yeah, has been great. I've had at least 3 emails from her yesterday afternoon and this morning.
I'll contact her.
You know, just thinking about this, on the website where she was asking me for the registrants to email it back to her or to fax it to her, her email address is not correct. There's 3 N's in it.
Oh.
And
There's
so
supposed to
maybe
be
she's,
3 M's or
no,
not?
no. So perhaps that's why, I mean.
No, I haven't sent her anything.
Oh,
Sue asked her to send me
Oh, gotcha.
information. Sue sent me an email and CC Jeannie on it, said, Jeannie, can you please send Jim Pringle the information so he can share it with, so all I got right now is sent out to save the date.
Well,
Thanks for getting us
Yeah,
started,
that's
Luke.
great.
much better.
You talked to Luke?
He just let us know that he's not going to be participating. He's just recording it. So
Thanks, Luke.
I was going to type and then I realized you can hear it. So it's quicker just to say.
Thank you.
You're not supposed to be here.
Oh my goodness.
Oh,
Just thinking I can tell that my boys have been using my tablet.
oh.
Those little dirty boy fingers have been all over it.
Those are the best kind.
I keep reminding myself that you're going to grow up and you miss this time. So you might as
Yeah.
well enjoy it. Wow.
Enjoy the sticky fingers and
What age are they?
7 and 4.
Same age as my 2 grandsons. Time flies. See if anybody else is getting on.
And it looks like Glenn, he's asking you to proxy for him if there's any votes. So I guess you get to vote for both of you guys.
I do.
Yeah.
That's from Luke.
I like it. We're going to nominate you for all kinds of jobs, Luke.
Good.
Tim
Yeah.
is joining us today.
Howdy, Tim.
Hey,
Hello, Tim.
hi, how are you?
Green.
Hi.
A little late.
I'm clear. Woo.
Good.
Just having coffee now. Okay.
Matt, I don't think Matt's going to be able to make it today, as I recall from an email.
So he's gonna try and be in person this month, but I haven't talked to him this week.
Let me double check that email I got from him. Thanks, guys.
Hi,
Every box in the car.
okay, great.
Smoke break, did not break.
That's fine. We're able to find everybody on Hilltop.
It was.
I was gonna say.
Well, that'd be a silly question, Jim, but you happen to have a post driver with you today.
Pardon?
Yes,
You are the man. Thank you.
and I have those steaks,
Cool. Well, I'll stick them back in the shed. So,
and I have some leftover swag.
oh boy, well, I think if you can find it at home, I'd just assume you find it at home on that.
I can probably do that at the pancake day,
Sounds like a win.
Oh, this like,
Yeah. unless you can be there.
I'm going to try to be there, but I never like.
Then I will transfer to your booth.
As I said, I never like to promise weekends or any of that until I talk to the rest of that equation.
Okay, let's see here. Maybe he sent it to this one. In just a moment, we'll get started here after I double check something, see if Matt may have sent an email. If he didn't, then one of us board members will have to start it. So just give me a minute here. Oh, yep. Matt's in a virtual league training today. To update his OSHA outreach trainer status. So that being the case,
I vote for you.
okay.
He votes for you.
What does the past president get to start the meeting?
I guess so.
Okay, at 10:38.
Okay, call the meeting to order. Introductions. I'm Glenn Kaiser, past president.
Sherry Bird, St. Mary's.
Reed Stevens, brain injuries.
Sonata Colsa, Colorado 811.
Jim Pringle, local emergency plan committee and the liaison with the National Weather Service.
Ted Leon, Director of Safety and Security for District 51.
Heather Condor, Mesa County Road and Bridge.
Yay. All right, I'll get started on the agenda. Just wanted to see if anybody's had time to review the meeting minutes from last month,
I did.
April 19th.
I think I should to approve this.
Any corrections or,
You're awesome.
no? You go.
You're
No,
awesome.
no, you don't have to say that too loud.
You're awesome.
My
Jim.
head is already too big. I wear a size extra large hat, so.
That's not true.
Sherry made a motion to approve. I will second. All in favor?
I,
Thumbs up.
okay. And the treasurer's report. Glenn is our interim treasurer.
The current balance is $4,390.26. There are 3 outstanding checks for $25 that we wrote to individual teachers as prizes from the Safety Fair raffle that haven't been cashed yet. 8 of the 11 have been cashed. The 3 that aren't cashed are for $25. I thought those might straggle in. This is the last week of school, I think, isn't it, Tim? They could have co-signed them over to the secretary at the school or something, so. Anyway, there's just those 3 outstanding. The only upcoming bill that I know of this summer is the second and third payments of the insurance policy that's usually due in late June or early July. I haven't received that yet. We did pay the bill for the busing, which was $1,765.30 to District 51. That's it.
So you paid that.
Yes.
And then we got, you recall the approximate amount that we have to pay for insurance?
It's not bad. It's in the 150 range.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Lynn. So we've got, I'll give you an overview of the Plateau Valley Safety Fair. Glenn Kaiser and I participated in that up there at the Plateau Valley School in Colburn.
And Heather and so.
Well, yeah, for the LEPC, and then there was an Autumn had a booth, and Heather was there, and I don't know if anybody else from our group was there. I didn't have a chance to get outside this time. There were a bunch of the high school students that had their own safety booths, mostly devoted to farm and ranch safety, and it was really good. There were about 20 to 25 booths, exhibitors, and we had about 150 elementary school students that were sent to each of the booths, and then in the afternoon, there were a bunch of the middle school students, 6th through 8th grade, that came out, and their approach was a little bit different. They came out with a question for each exhibit. So during the morning, some of the students, and I think some of the teachers also may have done this, but they collected a question from each exhibit. And that question, they wrote it down, the one that I gave, they wrote it down, and then they did that at all the other booths, I understand. And they did it for yours too, right, Sonatum and Heather? And yeah, okay. So, and then the middle school students just came out during the afternoon and went to each booth and asked their question. And when they got the answer, they wrote the answer down, or they were supposed to write the answer down. All of them stopped at the LEPC booth, wrote down their answer, and then they went to the next booth and did the same thing. So it was a really good turnout, and the kids were really great as usual there. And then we took the remaining swag bags left over from the safety fair. I think we had just enough to give to all the elementary school students. I don't know, how many do you think we had?
I think there's like 112 or something.
So 112. So we didn't have enough for all the students then, but I think they distributed them to the younger kids first.
Yeah, K through 4th, I think.
K through 4th grade, okay.
It wasn't enough for that.
Okay, so that's what they did. So, but that worked out really well. I don't think the 5th graders felt left out by any means. And then we had some leftover teacher swag bags that Sherry provided, and we had enough of those for each of the teachers as well. So each of the elementary school teachers, yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah, so that was great. And I'm sure they appreciated it. So it was a really good event. And I guess one of my takeaways from participating in the event was once again, after I don't know how many years that they've had the safety fair, we only had like 2 weeks advance notice on it. So it didn't give us any time to speak of for, preparation by most organizations. In fact, one of the organization members with whom I spoke said, because we, at short notice, we'd already scheduled an outreach event on that date to another school here in town. And I know they would have liked to have participated in the Platte Valley Safety Fair, but anyways, they need to get their announcement out much sooner than 2 weeks in advance. So I did talk with the organizer and also spoke with the principal of the school. And I asked them if they could, for next year's Platte Valley Safety Fair, get the announcement out at least 6 weeks prior to the event, at least 6 weeks. So organizations would have an opportunity to plan and prepare. So they probably would get more exhibitors. I know at least one that would have been there, but it wasn't because of the fact that there was short notice and they had to make plans on what they knew at the time. Anyway, it's a really great event. And Heather, I don't know if you have any comments about your experience there.
No, I know they do have to have the safety fair approved by their board, their school board.
Yes.
And so that probably is a longer process and probably the reason why it's so short notice.
Yeah, I spoke with Ruth and I addressed that very issue with Ruth and the principal. And I said, is there any way you can get this approved by your school board at least 6 weeks prior? And Ruth said she would discuss it, but the principal said, I think we can get that done. I think we can do that. So yes, thanks for mentioning that it has to be approved by the school board. So we'll see what happens next year and hope for the best. Anyway, it was a really great experience. We have another outreach event for organizations to participate and share their safety messaging, and that's the 2022 Kiwanis, Grand Junction Kiwanis Pancake Day and Fun Fest. And there's no cost for nonprofit organizations to participate in that. That's June 11th. And I'm going to try to get a hold of the organizer for the Fun Fest part of it to get more information. I don't know, Sherry, you spoke with her, and I don't know what additional information you may have received. If I can't get a hold of her, I'll just get the information you gave me.
Okay, and I'll forward what the emails are too. It basically just talks about what Kiwanis does and in the community for Grand Junction and the focus on children and what this event will be.
Yeah, and then as far as opening their doors for setting up your booth and that type of
She
thing.
hasn't given me that yet,
Okay,
but it starts at 8, so I'm going to
Right.
suggest that we're going to start around 7 or 7:30.
I would hope they would have doors open at 7.
They're providing a table and 2 chairs for anyone. It's outside. And if we.
Oh, it is outside.
It is outside. So canopy is a recommendation.
If you have one,
Yes,
you have to bring your own. Okay.
yes.
Okay, they provide a table and 2 chairs, and it's going to be outside. And so, yeah, if you have a tent, bring it. If you don't, I guess you'll bring your sunscreen.
Right, exactly. We'll be right.
Okay. Although, yeah, we don't know what temperature is going to be on that day yet, but I can tell you, based upon climatology, you're probably looking at temperatures in the morning in the starting out in the low 60s, and then by noon you're probably getting up at least to the upper 80s.
Welcome summer.
Yeah, it is June 11th. So, all right, I'll try to get more information on that. So the next, any questions or comments about the Grand Junction Kiwanis Pancake Day and Fun Fest? All right, I'll move on to the next item, and that is the 2022 Safety Fair prize distributions, which Glenn and I completed. Glenn took half of the schools and I took the other half, and we drove around and dropped off the prizes at the schools. All of the elementary schools where I stopped at, where the teacher was there that day, the front office contacted the teacher and to let them know I was dropping off the prize. And in every case where the teacher was there, not a substitute, the teacher requested that I come to their class and make the presentation of the prize to their class. And when I did that, I also told the teacher and the students who the donating organization was, such as Colorado 811 and KKCO TV and WCCA and others. So that went really good. The kids just really were happy, and even if it was, you know, a gift certificate or a check. They thought that was really great because they knew their teacher would do something really fun using that resource for them. The mittens were probably the biggest highlight. The mittens that were donated by KKCO TV that were one size fits all mitten that was had the official Olympic symbol stamped on it and on the little tag on it. And so that was probably the one that was the most fun that the kids received. And there were some others too. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head what they all were besides that. Glenn dropped off some beanbag chairs to two homeschool families that won those prizes. And Glenn said they were pretty nice chairs.
Very nice.
Yeah.
They came from Hilltop.
Yeah, Hilltop donated those. So the success of the the prize incentive, I think it is worth continuing to have this prize program next in subsequent safety fairs. So and thanks to all organizations that participated with whatever handout items they had as well. I think that's a big incentive too. I think kids really enjoy getting those things. Anyways, we had a lot of fun doing that, Glenn and I think you did, Glenn.
Yeah.
I certainly did. Yeah, I mean, to see the kids and they're all excited and smiles on their faces and everything. And, oh, plus Glenn had two classes and I had one class, the School District 51, where we handed out swag bags to all the students from the leftovers. And still we had 112 to take to the Plateau Valley Safety Fair. So, and that brings up an interesting point. WCCA handed out what, 1,300 helmets, and we had 1,200 bags. So I'm trying to figure out where at least some of the classes or homeschool people didn't get. They went to WCCA's exhibit and got those construction helmets, but for some reason they didn't get swag bags. So that's kind of interesting. Nonetheless, we still have leftovers.
There were a few parents that were wearing a little plastic construction helmet thing, but not even, I mean, that would be like 200 people. And I wouldn't say
Right.
there's that many by any means.
Right.
I would just every now and then see a mom that put one on, and perhaps it was even her kids that she had on, who knows. But
Okay.
yeah. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
that wouldn't explain.
No, that's a
Yeah.
lot. I mean, that's 200 at least difference.
Yeah, because I saw very, very few adults wearing those.
Oh,
And
certainly that wouldn't add up to 200.
anyway, this works out good if we have extras. It's better to have a little bit extra at the in-person safety fair and not run out than to not have enough and then run out and disappoint those who are expecting it. And it works out really good that we can take the leftovers to the Plateau Valley Safety Fair. So even if we don't have enough for every class, we can at least, get the younger kids the swag bags. So, all right.
Hey, Jen, I wonder if we should move up,
Oh,
do this next. Oh, we got it right here.
okay. Glenn suggested that we put agenda item 10 next, and that's fine with me, nominations and elections. So we've got the positions, the board positions that we have for the safety council that are open right now, that are normally open this year, and the even numbered years would be president, secretary, and one at-large board member position. But we have an extra one this year because Ashley had to step down due to her job commitments. So we have treasurer added on to that. So I don't know when we've ever had 4 positions open, but anyway, we do this year. So do we have any nominations? Let's start out with president. Start at the top.
Yeah, I'd like to nominate Sherry Bird. I talked to her a couple times. She's been very active the last 2 or 3 years. Since she got this position with St. Mary's. She's very big. She's familiar with District 51 personnel. I know she's worked with Tim on some projects previously. I think she'll do a great job. Matt didn't want to continue on, and Luke did not want to move up at this time. Luke's security company business had a lot of overseas connections, and he kind of got clobbered with the pandemic. So he asked not to, that he didn't want to move up at this time, but he did offer to stay on as vice president. Jim has offered to continue on as secretary. He's done a great job. His minutes are spectacular. And I don't know any nominations from the floor on treasurer. I'm gonna do that on an interim basis. I turned the stuff over to Ashley 3 years ago, probably 2020, I guess it was. Any nominations from the floor?
I don't know if anybody. everything's-
Okay, so I guess, so for nominations, we have Sherry Burke for president and Jim Pringle to continue on as secretary. And we'll hold up on treasurer, and I talked to Sherry about her getting some input into the at-large board member. We got a couple of feelers out. So I guess I would nominate Sherry as president and Jim Pringle to continue on. It's another 2-year term as secretary. And we'll put the treasurer and the at-large board member on hold till normally our next meeting would be in September, I think. Potentially we'll schedule a board meeting with the new, with Sherry involved sometime this summer when everybody's available before that September meeting.
I'd like to just make one comment regarding the at-large board member position. It would be really great if we had somebody from School District 51 on that. There, and Sonatum can tell you, as far as the workload is concerned,
At large is pretty easy.
yeah, there isn't really that much asked. And the reason why Glenn and I were talking about this is the fact that one of our major focus points of our organization is School District 51 students. And to have somebody on School District 51 provide their input on a regular basis, it can be really helpful to the board here, to our organization.
I'm not disagreeing with what you guys are saying. I think it's important to have somebody on there. What I'd ask is, Jason and I enjoy being a part of this group. It's probably one of the best parts of our day and year, actually. But the issue that's come up a couple of times this year is in fact, I just got back from a crisis at Fruita Monument, which involves Jason and I. So sometimes we get pulled away. So thinking about who would best fit that position. I'm sorry, somebody that could be there consistently is what you're looking for. So I'd ask, let me work on it during the summer, see who would best fit that position. Jason, I would definitely still want to be involved with you folks. But to be fair to you guys, you need somebody that can be there all the time and stuff. So let me put some feelers out and I can report back to you guys here soon.
Great, thank you, Tim.
Yep. It's a pleasure working with you guys.
Well, that's good to know.
Okay, so we've got 2 nominations for president and secretary and 2 on hold. Any discussion of those positions? If not, we'll take a vote. All in favor, aye, or hands up, or thumbs up?
Hi.
For president, yeah, I can't vote for myself.
I was voting for you.
Looks like it's unanimous. Any objections anywhere? Heather's got a thumbs up. I've actually got Luke's proxy vote, so that gives us 1 more. So I guess it's
Still
1,
unanimous.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 in favor and none opposed. So thank you much.
Yes, thank you.
I'm sure Sherry will do a great job.
With your help.
We can get her to speak up a little louder.
I promise I will. I have an authoritative voice occasionally.
Okay,
It's just usually me and quiet. That's my usual response, but
that works.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Okay, good. We accomplished that one early on. And we'll go on to the next item, which is the 2023 Mesa County Safety Fair. And I think we learned a number of things from the most recent safety fair. We had some issues that came up and in the meeting minutes from last month, we can quickly go over some of these things. I received some input yesterday via email from WCCA, Shauna from WCCA on one of the items. And that had to do with having organizations pay a fee to participate. And I think the general consensus was a recommendation based upon that came out, and we had a general consensus, but we can talk about it some more, was to make it optional, because some organizations that have more money, they would be more willing to pay, and we don't want to exclude any organization that doesn't have sufficient cash flow. The original proposal was to have it as a $50 donation or fee. And any comments about that? I know that Colorado 811 probably wouldn't have any issue paying it, and some others. But I don't think WCCA would have an issue.
Anything is if we have flexibility on waiving it, and
Right.
at least that was clear enough up front, where somebody who really didn't have the money but wanted to be there isn't going to be discouraged from being there.
Because with our group, we have, our funds are set up for that.
Yeah.
As we're nonprofit, we haven't got any funds coming in.
Yes, again, as long as we're optional, emphasize that it's optional. And a lot of government agencies actually have problems with that, like the Weather Service, and
Right.
Forest Service, and Colorado National Monument. Not that they don't have money, but they've got to go through a very
Oh, my goodness.
Process costs.
It's
level of
ridiculous.
bureaucracy to get something like that approved.
It's ridiculous.
So that's the only caveat I put on there. It's just something that says like, we'd appreciate it. And if you can't, please contact us and we'll work with you. And even if that contact is just saying, oh, you can't, that's okay. Come join us anyways.
Yeah, we don't want to lose them too.
Yeah.
We'll make that.
I think it might be a pretty easy way to get a little bit more money in the budget and help make it so it's not so hard to fundraise some of the other ways.
So based upon all the comments I've heard so far, I'm wondering if we shouldn't just have it as a fee, but then say if you are a nonprofit, you know, or if this is would be too big of a financial burden, you know, the fee will be waived. Should we just do it that way and make it so it's doesn't sound like, well, if you feel like paying, go ahead, it's optional. If you don't feel like it. But if we have it set like that, is that a good way of going about it? Instead of just saying the fee is optional, just to say we have this fee. However, if your organization, you know, will have difficulty paying the fee, we can waive that fee.
Yeah. Or just say questions, comments, whatever, we'll work with you. Just leave it pretty broad and open and but
Okay.
upfront, as long as I feel like as long as it's upfront, anybody who wants to be there is going to be willing to make that phone call. Hopefully, we're not going to turn anybody away, but most of the people, I don't think $50 should be that big of a deterrent. So
I think that's, okay. But yeah, I could start to award monies, you know, I don't know if they'll do it next year, but they did this year. And, but we have to also state what is that money's been spent for. So, you know, it's possibilities that we can do that, but I can't guarantee it.
of course,
Okay,
for my part, I don't know. Somebody's going to not come over $50. I pay the $50 out of my own pocket. You
Yeah,
know,
right,
but I don't know.
that I can see, so.
yeah, well, you know, in the safety counts, we've gotten by all these years without, even in the really super lean years. In the past, before Glenn became president, you know, we had some times where we were just barely scraping by. And we didn't charge any organization if we participate in the safety fair. And so I think we'll be okay with, you know, we'll be that much better off by doing this. And I make a recommendation that we have, just to iron out some details then on this fee recommendation, is that we, at our board meeting this summer, that we discuss this and think about how we want to word it in the message that we send out in the late fall or early winter when we send out our invitation to exhibitors, potential exhibitors. So next board meeting, this will be an agenda item. Okay. So
How
I
are
think
you
there's
planning
reason-
on billing people? Like, because all of our stuff has to go through like an invoice.
Oh,
So, like, I don't know, like, are you billing? And I don't even know if it's possible for us to even do anything like that. I'd have to discuss it with my boss and his boss probably. But I know all of our stuff is with a receipt and a P card or with invoice.
Same here.
Good point.
okay.
You, Jimmy, provided those in the past for me for St. Mary's, an invoice. I wonder if we could do something similar to that.
So I provided the invoice to St. Mary's Hospital in the past 2 years. And remind me, was that after or before the donation was made?
Well, we were slow about paying, let me put it that way, as most businesses are these days, but you did give it to me before the event even.
Okay,
Because we had the commitment to provide that.
It seems like you did the same for us too. And
That's right.
the accountants are gonna need it.
I did one for Bank of Colorado too.
I was gonna say, because they,
Those are for general donations.
But I don't think that's a big hurdle, hopefully, or if it turns out to be a big hurdle, then maybe we pursue something else, but.
except for Jim has to do them.
Yeah, well, it wasn't, that didn't take much time, especially after I made the first one 2 years ago, to St. Mary's Hospital. This year was just basically a copy paste, just change the dates and, since it worked last year, it worked this year. Now, Heather, how would that work? So with St. Mary's Hospital, you'd already set aside the donation amount, right? But then I sent an invoice. And then that was what officially gave you the ability to give it. So Heather, if I sent an invoice like I did St. Mary's Hospital to say, not just your organization, but any other organization that could come up with the funding within Mesa County, with a $50 fee, would that suffice?
So our process is, we get an invoice, it gets processed, a check is sent. Our budgeted amount is in there. So like, they would probably need to include this in their budget for fees somewhere. So county departments that are participating need to know about it ahead of time to include it in their budget. But I don't know, like, our money is supposed to be spent on roads. So I need to check with our public works director and our road supervisor before we can make a payment like that. But that's just the process that we go through. It's invoice, put it through the system, a check is sent.
Okay. Okay. So it sounds very similar to what we've done with Colorado 811 and St. Mary's Hospital. Okay. All right. Thanks, Heather, for bringing that up. I appreciate that very much. That's good to know. All right. Some other items. So for swag bags at the last meeting, I think there was pretty much consensus that we still have the bags that get filled out that have a whole bunch of stuff in it prior to the safety fair. And then as the kids come in, give them smaller bags so that the items that are handed out at the booths, be it candy or stickers or, fingerprint, the actual, when they do their little fingerprint thing with law enforcement, they can have that to stick in instead of having to use their construction helmets. Does that still sound like the way to go? I know we had a couple of we had more than a couple of teachers that were very glad that kids didn't have bags, that walking around with bags, but then they had their kids had all this stuff to carry. And so I think the majority, based upon the responses we got, I think the majority of teachers would be happy if we had the little bags that the kids could carry around. And then on the way out, perhaps more teachers would be willing to just have a box of bags like some wanted for this safety fair. They didn't want the kids having all these other bags in addition to the little one. That's their choice, but we can give them that option again. And maybe there'll be fewer teachers that will want kids to have their own individual big swag bag as they head out the door at the end of their time at the safety fair. Which means we'll need to get, like Cabela's or Target or somebody to donate the small bags. We don't want another situation like what happened this year where we had teachers and parents running around to the various businesses like JCPenney's and such and saying, hey, can we have some, your store bags? And it was like, ah. And then there were some organizations that had some pretty large sized handout items. There was one next to Colorado 811. They showed up late to the event. We'll try to, and I still need the contact information for that. So for next year,
So as enterprise products,
right?
and they liked it, and they'd like to come
Right.
back again, but they were handing out some I consider pretty nice swag for anything like that, flashlights and stuff like that. So
Yeah. So I just need a contact for Enterprise Products so
yeah, well,
that we're not dealing with it, several days prior to the event, finding out, oh, we have another organization that wants that booth. That's great. But logistically, it would help us to get them in the loop so we can share information with them as well. Okay. So everybody good with the idea of having pre-filled swag bags like what we did this year, and then having smaller bags like I guess we did a few years ago?
Well, it was a big bag, it was the smaller bag, so I think the smaller bag would look better. I think we'll get it.
Does it need to be big enough to fit the helmet into though, for the construction?
hopefully they'll just put them on their heads.
Yeah, I don't know. A lot of kids would, I think, would have worn their helmets if they had had to use them as a bag.
So maybe.
So. Yeah, there were a couple of teachers that said they really liked the idea of kids not having to, carry a bag through the safety fair. But on the other hand, they said, but then there were all these things being handed out. So it's like, well, I think we'll just try it this way based upon the suggestions from Glenn and some others for next year and see what happens. And in the interim, if anybody comes up with a better idea, that's great. But I know for some organizations, it makes more sense to hand out their some of their items at their booth as opposed to having them already pre-sorted and filled in bags. So, all right, we can revisit this one again, just to make sure everybody's on board still. But I think that's probably based upon the consensus of the last meeting and comments this meeting. That's probably what we'll plan on doing again.
It was a lot faster for us than to just hand out the book for us if they were in bag already.
Yeah.
And under food, at our food. It just takes time.
Well, see, that was one of the main issues in the past is that you may not have enough people at your booth to give your presentation plus hand out items to all the kids. And that was a problem at the National Weather Service booth all those years before we started doing, the pre-filled bags. And if we didn't have an extra person, you had people trying to talk about lightning safety or flash flood safety or flood safety. And yet they're trying to hand these items out and it's kind of confusing. One kid says, I didn't get one yet. And another one said, it's just, this just made life so much easier at the Weather Service booth, and sounds like it did the same for your brain injury
It did.
booth.
Here's another idea. I don't know if it's something that's possible, but filling the big bags and then handing them the filled big bags. So there's not multiple bags. So then they have something to carry around. They can go to the ones that want to hand out small things at the booth. And then give a warning to the teachers ahead of time saying, here's the plan. Let your kids know if you want to, not to go digging through their bags while they're at the fair and to wait. So then it puts it on the teachers to manage their own students.
It could work. We'll get some more input from
Yeah.
the teachers.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I'll contact Ari and Debbie Cadle. And that'll be an action item for me. And get their thoughts on your suggestion, Heather. That would definitely make our job a lot easier. As safety council people and volunteers, then we're not doing two handouts, because if we have a small bag that we're handing out as they come in, then we give them the big bag on the way out, we're doubling our workload. So that would make it easier for us to do it the way you suggest, Heather. And I'll talk with Ari and Debbie and see what they think. And they might send out a request to the teachers to get their opinions. And I have the email addresses to some of the teachers who came to the safety fair, and I can request their feedback as well. All right. Yeah, this was perhaps the biggest point of feedback that was brought up by the teachers after the safety fair, after they attended. So And then, of course, it was pretty obvious to some of us too, while we were there at the entrance, and this kind of supports what you're saying, Heather, is that a lot of the teachers and students, instead of going back to J.C. Penney and other stores to get an additional bag, they came back to the entrance and said, do you have any bags here? And so we just gave them the big swag bags. So yeah, that might be the best idea. Okay, thanks, Heather. All right. Drinking water, we were kind of up in the air, but I think when somebody brought up at the last meeting that the mall had turned their drinking fountains back on, I think most of us were thinking, oh, we're probably okay then not having a separate booth where, with a water station available. And in my personal opinion, there's enough stuff that gets dropped on the floor. If each kid got a little paper cup with water in it, how many of those paper cups do you think are going to end up on the floor?
Quite a few.
Yeah, so hopefully we won't be dealing with the pandemic next year, and the drinking fountains will be turned on, and that won't be an issue. Okay. And candy handed out at booths. I like, Heather, your suggestion at the last meeting that teachers should know in advance that some booths will be handing out candy, and if you don't want your kids to have candy in your class or in your your homeschool kids, just tell your kids before you get there we're not taking candy, because one of the teachers said that the parents of their students had told them that they didn't want their kids getting candy. So I agree with you, Heather. That should be something a teacher talks about with the students ahead of time and just gets that established. We're not taking candy, at the booths. Now, granted, some candy gets put into the swag bags that are filled ahead of it, but they can throw it out when they get home if they want, I guess. And then there was the other item, music being too loud on the speakers, the mall speakers above some of the booths where they were directly below that. And so next year we just have to remember to request the mall ahead of time to turn down the volume if they could during the hours of the safety fair. And we've done that in the past, so I think that's not an issue at all to speak of. We just need to remember to do it. Have it on our checklist of things to do. And then that ties into another item that we just need to know to do, which I didn't know about this until this year's safety fair. And that was, I was thinking, okay, we need to get all these kids down to these 3 different locations in the mall and then sort them out. And apparently some of the kids, our volunteers that were helping us from the WCCA's CMU EMT group, they were great. They were super helpful, those volunteers. They were students. But anyways, I just told them, take them all the way down to the other end of the mall to the XL Energy Electric, or down the end of the mall where Cabela's is. And so they were doing that, but in the process, there were classes that were getting basically in a traffic jam at those ends. And I should have, if I'd known, I would have said, okay, if those ends look pretty full, why don't you drop them off somewhere in the middle, in between the mall entrance here and those 2 endpoints. And then the flow of students to those booths would be more steady and not coming in waves. So for some of the booths in between those endpoints, that was an issue because there'd be nothing going on for a significant amount of time. And then all of a sudden you'd have a large number of students, even though they were from different groups of 4 or 5 or 6 students with a chaperone, you still had them all converging then at one booth at a time. And that just caused a little bit of congestion. And I don't think the experience was as good for the students either when you have something like that. So anyway, we learned from that experience, hopefully this year. So next year, those of us from the Safety Council that volunteer to escort students or to direct the volunteers that help us, Safety Fair will know what to do there. And we made a motion last month to, instead of the 9:30 in the morning till 3:30 in the afternoon for the hours of the Safety Fair on both days, to just go from 9:30 in the morning till 3 o'clock in the afternoon, because attendance drops way off. We do get homeschool students during that period of time, but I don't think it's a big deal. It seems like 2:30 to 3 o'clock, that might be a sufficient time period for the remaining homeschool students who come in the afternoon to be able to go to the booths and everything. And then we're not, many of the exhibitors sitting around with nothing to do for like 10 minutes at a time. And then you have a little group of 4 or 5 kids in a homeschool family or homeschool group that stop in. And I mean, that's fun, but I think we can utilize our time more efficiently by shutting it down at 3 o'clock. And of course, all of these people be notified about that prior to the event when I notify the homeschools and the private schools. So I think we're all good on that still.
Yeah, let's double check with the busing schedule, make sure that doesn't change from this year to next year. There could be a change there, but we don't know about yet.
Oh, okay. Any insight into that, Tim?
I haven't heard any changes coming up next year.
Okay,
But that, I don't think there's gonna be any, to be honest with you.
okay. Yeah, so if the busing schedule doesn't change, it's probably work out fine.
Yeah.
All right. Any other suggestions or comments or topics regarding planning for the 2023 Safety Fair?
You could just throw out like the same, if we're gonna keep the virtual hybrid format.
Yeah.
Probably to have people review what they have. If they like it, stick with it. If they want something different, try and get that in advance of the Safety Fair in person, I suppose.
Yeah. We had a little, to those who actually signed in for the virtual Safety Fair, we had fewer teachers this year than the previous year. But nonetheless, I know for a fact that we had at least somewhere in the neighborhood of 150 students that we know of who did participate in the virtual Safety Fair. So, I mean, it's still worthwhile, number of classes that, can participate in that. And it really doesn't
Not much.
allow us any extra work than what we would normally do, just updating a few things. And I mean, the whole system for the virtual Safety Fair is already in place, right?
Yeah, I think just pretty much reminder to people, if you want to change it or do something different or better or whatever, you have the opportunity. And if you want to leave it just how it is, that's fine too. So
Okay,
yeah, it doesn't cost much to leave it just how it is either.
so, yeah, next, I guess we could start now, sending out a message regarding organizations, if they want to think about updating their video or updating their questions, at least they'll have some pre-planning time. I'll put that down as a action item here. Okay. All right, anything else regarding the planning for next year's Safety Fair? Okay, fundraising. I don't think there's a lot to mention here regarding updates and reminders. We have the Amazon Smile program. Some are, having Amazon automatically donate. It doesn't cost you any money directly if you buy something through Amazon and you participate. But if you designate the Safety Council, then Safety Council gets a certain percentage of each purchase that's made. It's based on percentage, right?
Yeah, I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Pretty small.
And then there's the King Super City Market Community Rewards Program. And many of us already participate in that. So if you're looking for an organization to have them donate, and once again, you don't pay anything extra. They just donate part of, again, I think a percentage of the purchases. Then we talked about the optional $50 fee for Safe Fair booths already. The last bullet item here is the donation link on the Safety Council's website. I do know for some organizations, you have to get approval from the state to get that done, to do that. And so I don't know, we talked about this a few months ago of having a donation link on our website, which I think is a great idea. But I think we need to do a little research and find out from the state, what needs to be done.
I guess a question on that is, are we a charity or just a nonprofit?
Right. That's the question, because then that's when the state comes in, okay, do you get a nonprofit receipt number or tax exempt number, or do you not? So, yeah, it would not hurt to double check with the state. We had to recently with the center. Our biggie was to get, for our webpage, because we have a big event coming up in August. It's our 40th anniversary. But yeah, had to double check to see if there was any permits or any regulations we had to follow with state rules. So, especially because a lot of our stuff is going to be done over the webpage. And we had to make up a certain context so that we could get back to the people who donated and give them that tax exempt and stuff like that. So there was it's just something, I don't think it was very hard to do. It was just, then where your legalities start. Things. So people don't come back and say, hey, you didn't give me my number, you didn't give me my tax return, exempt thing or something I can claim. So it wouldn't hurt to double check it.
Yeah. Maybe Doreen, maybe you want to coordinate that with Glenn. Are you good with that since you're our interim treasurer to see what needs to be done?
Yeah.
And it looks like Doreen, your organization has already done the.
The Center for Independence is the one that's doing this.
Okay.
And
That's,
they
Nicole's
probably-
group. Is that Nicole's group?
Pardon?
Is that Nicole's group? Or?
No, the Center for Independence is here in Grand Junction. It's
Right.
for persons with all disabilities.
Okay.
And we have our 40th year anniversary coming up in August. So we've been fundraising, trying to get tables bought. We're having kind of a little gala. And pretty much with the Center for Independence, the tax exempt numbers and stuff like that, because they are a nonprofit, has already been set up. But with, like you said, are you just a nonprofit or a
Charity. probably,
charity?
yeah.
So, and here, I think it's more, I don't know, you guys, I think consider this as a nonprofit.
Well, we are a 501c3 organization.
What charity?
So,
Yeah. Yeah. So, but even then, I'm involved in an organization that it's a 501c3, promotes weather safety. It works parallel with the National Weather Service, but in order to put the donation tag on our website, we had to contact the state of Florida and some other states to get approval for this. We had to pay a fee. It was like $100 fee, a one-time fee, I think, for the state of Florida. And some other states, similar things. Some states it was like $10. So, but I would think we only need to do this for the state of Colorado since, we're Mesa County centric with our organization.
well, like I said, Center for Independence is a nonprofit, and it's only 1 out of 9 other ILC centers. So it's here in Grand Junction. It's been here for a long time. But they pretty much have theirs already set up. Now, whether for this month, I wasn't involved in setting up the web page and the donation page. So, it was probably fairly easy for them to do that. But yeah, it wouldn't hurt, especially for smaller groups, to double check. Just put it this way, make sure your back bet is covered.
Yeah, right. Yeah, just to give credit where credit's due, Luke Daniel was the one who originally suggested we have a donation button on our website. And so I thought it was a great idea, and I think most of us thought it was a great idea here. So we just need to make sure we're following all the rules before we actually do that. But when we find out what needs to be done and we've done it, I think as soon as possible, we'll get that donation button on there because, as we head into next fall, I think we're going to start seeking donations once again.
Yeah, there's no problem with that. And then this, like I said, because people could possibly come back and say, well, I donated this, but you didn't give me any receipts or proof that I donated.
Yeah.
So, but the donation button, I think, worked well this year, didn't it? We have one here?
No, we don't have a
You
donation
don't have
button yet.
one?
It was just proposed.
Oh, okay,
It was requested by our webmaster,
Oh.
Luke.
okay.
So,
Yeah, just double check that. I don't see any problem with it. Like I said, I wasn't involved in setting up ours with the center. The Center's also been an established nonprofit, so.
That brings up a good point. You mentioned something about providing a receipt to any donations that come in through that. I know in some organizations where I donate online, I automatically get an email response back that says, thank you for your donation. And it's basically a receipt that you can use for your tax purposes or whatever.
Right.
Bookkeeping.
Yeah, so if you itemize your deductions or whatever,
That makes it,
makes your life easier, their accountant appreciates you at least, yeah.
yeah, acknowledging that. And I don't think a lot of places now do use that email confirmation type of thing. I know ours is, like I said, this is a special event for this year for the center. And so basically they redid the whole establishment. We have a written paper and that we send back to the person. You know, I should have brought a packet.
Oh, that's okay. I'll let
No,
you
it's
coordinate with
good
Glenn, and
I'll check with the state.
Glenn can check with the state. I don't think we need to do it with the county. I think it's just a state thing.
I'll try to check with an accountant too. that
Oh,
I know,
okay.
and they might have some insight, or if not, it's a pretty easy phone call at least, so.
Okay, great. All right,
Because I know with BF, though, they cancel their tax exempt number, so we have to go directly, they have to go directly through the Brain Injury Alliance now. We had a tax exempt number, but we can't use it anymore. They canceled it.
okay,
Certain, support groups, but that's them changing back into the corporate control. Little support groups, then it's not, got to make sure that things are handled and any money donations go directly to them. So.
okay. Well, thanks for that information. Yeah, when we get a chance to, after we get all these things figured out, and we talk with Luke about putting a donation button on there, then we can, I'm sure Luke knows about putting on an automatic email receipt thing that people can get when they do that. So, all right. We'll table item number 9 until the next meeting in September, I guess, on the trifold brochures.
Yeah, we've been at it an hour, so we probably.
Exactly. And any additional items? None heard. I'll make a motion to end the meeting.
I'll second.
Sherry seconds it. And thank you, everybody, for coming, and have a great summer. And hopefully we'll all be back together here again in September.
Oh, so we won't be meeting again until September. Okay.
Yeah.
We just got a message from Luke there about PayPal, and once the PayPal is set up, and the button would work on that too, so.
Oh, that's
Oh, okay.
That's the thing is the PayPal works too. I think. People get automatic receipts, don't they?
Yeah.
With PayPal.
Thanks, Luke.
Thank you, Luke. All right.
Bye, everybody.
Have a great summer.
Hey, Tim,
Oh, question.
are you already finished for the year?
I'm sorry, had a radio going off. What was that?
Are you finished already for the year as well?
No, I work year round, so.
Okay,
uh,
I'll just touch base with you.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you.
All right,
Hey.
bye.
Tim, what's the last day of school, public school?
Thursday, this coming Thursday is.
This Thursday, okay.
Yeah, 19th.
Okay.
Yeah, the 19th.
And when does school start back up again?
Give me just a second, I'll tell you.
Okay.
But not that far in advance yet, huh?
August 10th. Man,
Oh, wow.
short summer.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Tim.
Yep, have a good summer, guys.
You too. Can you get on? There it is. Hello. Bye-bye.